If you're anything like me and you're worried about your financial future because everything keeps getting more expensive and you want to save money, this video might be helpful for you. I'm planning on doing a low spend year this year, and the main reason why is because I spent way too much money last year, and I do have a plan to save a lot more this year, and I do have different things I want to do that will require a lot of money, so I don't want to just spend too much money again this year. So the plan this year for me is to save as much as I can by reducing my spending. Besides wanting to save more this year and plan for a nice trip this year, I also have other reasons for why I want to save this year. Your reasons might be similar or different, but for me, when I looked around, I realized, alhamdulillah, I have a lot of stuff. I don't necessarily need anything more. And honestly, I have a very small living space, so everything just takes up too much space. So I realized it's better to just live with what I have for now, and then if I really need to add something in, whether it's home decor or a clothing item or shoes or anything, I will slowly and more consciously hopefully get those things. Also really worried about food waste. I feel like even though I've been doing my best to reduce the amount of food I waste, I still end up wasting some amount of food. So I want to be more conscious with my groceries as well, because groceries are getting way more expensive, and it's just not worth it to throw out any amount of food anymore ever. So I have about 5 rules I'll be following for my low spend year, and I think they're pretty realistic and flexible enough that I won't feel too restricted. The first rule is the 1 in 1 out rule, which I'll be following mostly for my skincare, makeup, and kind of also clothes. With skincare and makeup, honestly, I have so many duplicates. I have hoarded so much skincare because I just really like skincare, and I realize it's taking up too much space, and I feel very claustrophobic sometimes, and I feel really intimidated by how much I have, but I also want to buy more, and I realize it's not necessary. So I'm planning on just slowly finishing what I have so that I can take advantage of sales later on and not feel so guilty about them. Second rule I'm going to follow is to only get what I need. This will be primarily for clothing, shoes, and stuff like that. I find that I have a lot of clothes in every single category, even shoes. However, I don't have comfortable winter shoes, so I'm thinking I should get those. But again, I really want to sit with it because I do have other older shoes, and I just have a tendency to take care of those things well enough that they're not worth throwing out. But I find that they're not very comfortable anymore, so I'm thinking of switching those out. But when it comes to clothes, I have every kind of clothing item I could probably ever need. I have my traditional clothing for formal wear, home wear. I have like Western clothing for formal work and home wear. Like I have like every single type of item, and I've been kind of working on this for a little while. I've trained myself to not go to the clothing aisles anymore. I really like Winners, and there's always so many good deals, and it's really easy to find like more halal and modest and appropriate clothing, and it's just like specifically over there, and it's nice. But I realized I have so many clothing items that are basically the same shades of like gray or almost exactly the same styles in almost very similar colors, and I realized I haven't worn a lot of them, so I just think I don't need to buy more. So the plan is to not buy any of those items. The third rule I'll be following is to make things in smaller quantities. This is more so for like things related to food and whatnot, because I find that sometimes I make a little more than I think I'll need, and it ends up getting wasted by the end of the week because it's not used up and kind of goes bad. So I want to be more careful about that, and that requires a lot more planning, and so that's what I'm kind of working on. And the best way around it is to really schedule things out. Schedule maybe 2 meal prep days in the week instead of just one, because sometimes I do make food throughout the week. However, I still prefer to make larger quantities every single time so that I can save some time later on. So it's a lot of just how much food am I gonna make now, and how long can it last and still taste very good and very fresh before I have to make more, and also will I have time when food runs out to make more. So I have to plan those things out a little bit, but I think it's very doable. The next rule I'll be following is to be more intentional with my decor. Like I mentioned, I do not have as much space as decor that I have. So I have so many different decor items I want to display, but it just doesn't look nice if you put everything out there. And I also feel bad if I'm not using those items, because what if I forget I have those items and then I end up buying those items because I'm like, oh, I need nicer decor, or I want to change this decor, or this piece would look really nice here, but I don't have it, so let me go buy it. So I'm just trying to be more intentional with that. It also helps that I do prefer cleaner looking, more empty looking spaces because it's less stressful. So I end up, to be honest, having a very clean environment, but then I have all these drawers or this whole storage room stuffed with all this decor and all this extra stuff, and it just feels honestly kind of wasteful at this point. So I'm like, okay, let me take out some pieces and put them on display. And then I'm like, is this too much? Is this too little? What should I do? I just want to feel like I'm using what I have and appreciating what I have instead of just keeping it all locked up away. The last thing I want to work on is a project plan. So basically what that is you work on finishing up your products, not getting an item. I think the rules are, or the rules that I'm going to be following is to not get another item or replacement item until you hit pan on the product. So I want to follow this with my skincare and makeup. To be honest, I have so much makeup considering how little I wear. So I think I'm going to just start wearing a little bit more makeup so I can use up these items and hopefully not feel the need to always wear makeup in the process, because I don't want to have that what would you call that, like a crutch, or like just feel like I need to wear makeup. So I have to kind of balance it out a little bit, but I think I'll have a lot of makeup to last me for a really long time. So we'll see how much I use up by the end of the year. And in terms of skincare, like I mentioned, I want to use up things and not get duplicates or replacements until I use them up, or until I have very little left and I see like a sale that'll get me through before I end up using up the last product, because I don't want to be totally out of skincare either. In terms of the low spend year, because I do have things that I plan to spend on which are kind of pricey, my plan is to basically allow my low spending to help facilitate the high spending that will come with those bigger things that I want to do. So for myself, like I mentioned, I have a couple of bigger expenses this year, and essentially what I want to do is to do the low spend so that I'm not wasting money buying extra things that aren't necessary, so I can enjoy and comfortably spend for the bigger expenses. So some of those bigger expenses include a trip that I think we're thinking is going to cost us between $6,000 to $10,000. And that's a lot of money, so it's going to require a lot of saving. The second thing is smaller trips that will happen throughout the year. I'm not sure how much we'll end up spending for these trips, but I think reasonable budget would be about $500 per trip, and potentially 2 to 3 trips. So that's another $1,500. The last category that I tend to spend a lot on is gifts for family and friends. And I feel like I'm starting to feel and realize that I spend more than the average person that I have seen or heard spend money on family and friends. But I also don't have that much family and friends, so maybe it balances out. I don't know. I just think I can get away with spending a much more reasonable amount, which is the amount that I see other people spend, which is between like $50 to $100. And I tend to spend up to like 3 times more sometimes. And that's just because I just want to. I don't think it's wise though for the budget, because there is not that much room for the budget anymore. So I have to think of better ways or smarter ways to kind of give that same amount of value without spending that amount of dollar. So that's kind of the last thing that I need to balance with my low spend, but I know that's something that I'm going to continue to spend on. Following these rules will make it a lot easier for me to watch my budget and complete this low spend year. And on top of that, I do have some money saving tips which I shared in this video that I'll post over here or here. I don't know yet because I'm very new to this. But you can check those out too to help you along the way if you're planning on doing a low spend year or just trying to budget better. Especially with your groceries. And I think that it is possible to have a low spend year and still enjoy, as long as you plan things out. So let me know in the comments below if you're going to be doing something similar or if you're going to be doing the total opposite. And if you have any tips to help me along the way, or for anyone else that's watching, that'd be great. And I will see you in the next video.